It's right here in the middle of the pandemic, day 5. I'm just going to play it, and I just needed to get it into a different format, so we're all set to play now. Right, this is the Not Ben Shapiro show. Ben Shapiro is one of the great orators and intellectuals, if you like, on the internet and in America at the moment. The reason I wanted to do the Ben Shapiro show is I wanted to introduce the Bahai faith. We've got Covid19 at the moment hitting the world, and I wanted to share some of the Bahai faith, just as Ben Shapiro shares his Jewish faith. I'm at home here in New Zealand. We're home here for the next 4 weeks. Our Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern has closed down the country, so everyone not doing essential stuff has to be at home. I produce food on a farm, so I've got some activities there. I've got a chestnut crop, which 130 trees to get to market, so I'll be working on that a little bit over the next 4 weeks. So just in the meantime, I just wanted to shout out to Ben, who's recently just talking about the United States. When Trump's given 14 days, he's halfway through that, and at the end of it, he's going to analyse it, and he's going to say, right, 90% of you all go back to work. The 10% that fit into 3 categories, 2%, which would probably be 20% of that 10% will pass away and die, and then the third category is, the second category is bankruptcy. So people will financially be out of pocket because of their sickness and illness. And lastly, there'll be those that go bankrupt and then die. So those are that's the 10%. So Trump's making that decision. Does he let the fibrillation happen in America and it stops, or does he get 90% of the population back to work and then look after, after he's analysed it, look after the 10% that are remaining? As I said, that makes the 2% up. So New Zealand's in a similar situation as well. We're looking at the rest of the world in a democracy. Then people make decisions. So yep, we see it in the States at the moment. The federal government is assisting, but it's the governors. And one of the governors was complaining that they had to buy 2 million masks overseas at 5 times the price on the open market, which is an interesting one from an American perspective, and any place around the planet. So yeah, the whole economic side of things. So anyway, you asked about, or you're watching this, why would I be discussing the Bahai faith when Ben Shapiro talks about the Jewish faith? And from my perspective, science and religion must agree, and if they don't, then religion's wrong and it's superstition. That puts a really, really high standard on science, and for the last 6,000 years, religion has been a great guiding force. Italy, where the Roman Catholic Church is based for the last 2,000 years, and we've got the Jewish faith, other faiths, for example, you've got 10% of Islam and Shia Islam in Iran, and you've got Sunnis, which make up places like Malaysia and Indonesia, which is the 90% around. That goes back to 622 AD, which is about 1400 years ago. And so, without getting into Buddhism or Zoroastrianism or Hinduism, the Indians heading to 1.8 billion by 2050. At the moment they're 1.4. China's 1.6. Well, that's pretty much where, because of the one-child policy. So India's going to overtake it. India's on a land area which is a quarter the size of China. Why I know these things is my background's science degree, maths, physics, biology, chemistry, stats with calculus, stats with maths, and minor in advanced genetics, which material process engineer, if you like, was my undergraduate. And then I took the biological sciences into demography, which is birth rates, death rates, migration rates of human population. So I looked at health policy and basically the actuaries with regards to human, and it's really some of this really counterintuitive So anyway, Ben Shapiro, I just wanted to say my background is in science and a bit of social policy at postgrad level. Jordan Peterson raised the point about the Pareto distribution, which I very much enjoy with regards to the Pareto distribution. What it is, if there's 10,000 people, the square root of 10,000 is 100. So the music that 50% of the 10,000 people will listen to will be produced by 100 musicians. And if you square root 100, you get 10. And so of that 50% that the 10,000 listen to that come from the 100, 50% of it will be from 10 of those musicians. And if you square root 10, which gives you about 3.1, the same thing, 50% of the 50% of the 50%. And so that's the Pareto distribution. And in a sense, that's why we have these huge accumulations of wealth in society, because just the nature of the Pareto distribution is that you get this concentrating effect. Anyway, it's a natural law, just like the bell curve of length, which is also IQ, and so the average is 50. In the middle, 50% one side, 50% the other side, so you actually have a bell curve, so the IQ is 100. But over the last 70 years, 80 years, we've had a thing called the Flynn effect, where the average has stayed the same at 100, but underneath it there's this creeping lie, which is about movement, not lie, but movement, where 3% of the population, 3 IQ points moves. And so if you look, say 70 years, 7 times 3 is 21. So if you go back, say IQ 80, back 70 years ago, that was, say, 100. And so today it's still 100, but the average IQ back then would have been 80. And there's a question of why is there a increase of this slow every 10 years does 3 points move. How does that fit in with the Pareto distribution? What I'm saying is there's natural laws. Leaf length fits into the bell curve. IQ does as well. There's a little bit of movement with the IQ. I'm not saying leaves on trees are getting longer, but from an IQ perspective it's interesting. So the Pareto distribution is a natural law that Peterson has brought up, and he's a Canadian person who objected to some of the speech laws that came in Canada. Anyway, he's, if you like, been a leavening effect, the rising of the bread, if you like, with regards to intellectual challenges that are going on in academia at the moment. Anyway, Ben Shapiro, this is not the Ben Shapiro show, but I put it in that term because when Ben looks at it from a Pareto distribution perspective, he's the one person, if I wanted to have a debating competition with, I would like to have that discussion with Ben Shapiro and the other 3 around him and the other 10 around him and the other 100 around him. So if 10,000 people watch this video, they're interested in the 100, they're interested that do 50%, then they're interested in the 10, then they're interested in the 3, and then you get back to square root of 3.1, which is Ben Shapiro. So that's where I'm focusing it. I love the, anyway, Ben, I'm just calling out to you now, and this is a 10-minute. I watch your stuff with the coronavirus. I've watched your other stuff, but I think the coronavirus is interesting because it combines the economists against the public health people, and there's a clash there. And so one wants one and one wants the other. So you're great at a polemic, which is creating a good argument. So hopefully in the style of Ben Shapiro, I've spoken quickly enough so that you can keep entertained. And I'm just trying out my GH2 Lumix Panasonic camera with a little lens on it for those buffs out there. I think it's 14 to 42 is the lens. And I'm just probably, 2 hands lengths away from the camera so that I can get a good audio. And I'm just sitting here in my lounge on my chair, and so we're watching the comedians out there doing the same thing from home because they were in lockdown for 3 weeks there. We got 4 weeks here, so let's have some fun in the next 3-4 weeks and see if a little guy from New Zealand can have a bit of a chat about the Bahai faith. So oneness of God, oneness of religion, oneness of humanity. If there were the 3 onenesses, just as a premise with regards from a Bahai perspective. But I'll speak more about that over the next 3 weeks. Anyway, I'm going to have a look at this video and see what you think about it. Catch you later. Yeah, so that's the video, and I'll put this up as well in the mix.